critical topic.
Crazy.
Yeah. But I'm gonna have to start.
I kind of did my own.
Not now.
When I went to Arbor Trail.
Because that's all you did.
Or others.
I figured out my timeline. Like, I don't know, maybe longer than I thought because
Wheels.
I can't proceed to the next stage until I get my configuration review.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
So you need to get all the way through now,
qualitative
but
question. So I'm working with an expert in because I
Is that Thomas or is that someone?
No, someone that trained Dr. Jill Westcott.
Oh.
Yeah, she works with Patricia Greenhorn. She trained with her. Yeah. Shannon.
And out, this light there, and up and down. Oh, easily. Fair.
She's like, and that's the doing of, like, not. Maybe make it a rap. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty large undertaking for sure. And I meant to have you touch base with Ashley Radomski. I don't think you guys have met yet, right?
Yeah.
I think I was telling you about. I keep like telling both of you about each other. I'll probably just end up sending an email.
Yeah,
Connecting you to.
Coffee or something here.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Maybe next.
So. This year? 1 year. 3 of your lives? Yep.
Hey, speaker, the lecture actually started. Hi guys, is Matt out there to do our introduction? Matt? Okay, you're a little bit quiet, but we're working on that. No, it's closer to the, yeah, it's way too quiet. And could the presenter please maximize their presentation or share your screen? Perfect. Thanks. Oh. That's what we were watching before.
It's what the university entirely uses. For tomorrow, it got moved. Outbreak of. Yeah, it's like all of it's going to Riverside now. For 2 weeks. Where are you supposed to be? There, and it's for, well, at Arbor Trail. In 2 weeks. Well, yeah. You have money to move it? Because the Delta right down the street. Not far.
How do I disconnect?
I don't know how you.
Can hear you.
I'm not getting any presentation or sound hardly. I don't know if you started or there seems to be no. We are.
Can you make it loud? Can you hear us?
But I can't hear the speaker.
I think the speaker's having some trouble connecting their audio, so we just got them to try phoning in.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. I probably could. Would you prefer to do? No. Oh, okay.
I may get you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I think we'll get ready to start right away, okay? Okay, I hope that all the other sites can hear us as well and see the slides. So we were starting a little bit late, so I'm going to jump right in with the introduction of Marie-Pierre, who's winding down a world tour of presentations. So Marie-Pierre Gagnon is an associate professor at the Faculty of Nursing at Université Laval, and she's a researcher at the Quebec University Hospital Center. She holds a Tier 2 Canada Research Chair in Technologies and Practices in Health, and her research program focuses on the use of scientific evidence to support the implementation of innovations in the healthcare system. And she's particularly interested in knowledge translation, patient and public involvement in healthcare decisions, and the use of information and communication technologies in the healthcare system. So without further ado, I'll ask Marie-Pierre to take over and present her great talk on the development for knowledge translation in healthcare.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew, and sorry, a little delay, technical problem. I hope everybody can hear us well. The presentation today is the result of a project that was supported by Knowledge Translation Canada. It's the project 2.2 that is about measuring organizational determinants of knowledge translation. And the researchers who were involved in this project were Carol Easterbrook, France Légaré, Jeremy Grimshaw, Matthew Wimet, and Anne Sales. We also have the collaborators from Spain, Gonzalo Grandes from the Basque Health Services, Giraud from Université Laval, and our students, Elke Gandour, Jenny Labarre, and Randa Ate, who helped me a great deal with this presentation. The background for this research project was that we have incomplete implementation of evidence-based recommendations on optimal care into various clinical settings. So in that context, it is difficult to translate knowledge into care practices. So the rationale for doing this study was that we knew more or less important determinants at the healthcare providers level, but at organizational level were gaps in knowledge regarding the factors that could improve implementation of evidence. And the avenue we decided to explore was the concept of organizational readiness, because healthcare organizations need to be sufficiently ready to implement those changes. The of organizational readiness for change, OR4KT, is important and is needed to understand the organization's readiness to implement evidence-based change in the context of healthcare. It's a concept that was developed in other fields, but in healthcare services, it was still relatively new. At the time we started this project, there were some theories, but really it was not sufficiently studied in the context of healthcare. And also, we had lack of instruments that were valid and reliable, specifically designed to assess for organizational readiness for knowledge translation, OR4KT, in healthcare. So there were some existing instruments that were developed in other fields, but not specifically to assess organizational readiness for knowledge translation. So the evidence-based, valid, and reliable instruments were our motivation in this project. And this instrument would be used to assess organizational readiness for knowledge translation in a variety of healthcare settings. And it could also be a tool that is useful to support healthcare decision makers in their implementation of evidence-based interventions in real-life settings. Of the presentation, we'll see it's a very broad project with different steps that were involved. So we want to share with you these different steps involved in the development and validation of the OR4KT, in two key dimensions for assessing organizational level factors that can influence knowledge translation in healthcare, and also to explore how this instrument could be used in your specific context. So the first of this project was the development process related to this instrument. We start by doing a review of current knowledge, conceptual, theoretical models and frameworks, organizational readiness for change in the other sense, in the field of healthcare, and the measures that were related to organizational readiness. We developed a concept map as a basis for a comprehensive framework to assess organizational readiness for KT. We review existing instruments to see if there were valid and reliable measures that could be used to assess OR4KT. And we built a consensus involving experts, international experts in the field of organizational readiness, knowledge translation. They were involved in the development of this tool. So here we did, as a preliminary step, we conducted two systematic reviews, one of organizational readiness theories and frameworks, and one of the instruments used to assess organizational readiness. The theoretical review, we found 10 theoretical models or conceptual frameworks. We did a conceptual map to identify the core concepts. So this was based on an interactive process with the team, the researchers, on how to classify broadly those concepts and variables. So use a CMAP tool to really map these concepts that were found in the literature at the theoretical level. And there were also 17 dimensions identified in those models and theories, and 15 subdimensions. And we used a modified Delphi study. It was used to as a first method for reducing or classifying those dimensions as they relate to knowledge translation in healthcare. So we came with a final proposal of 6 dimensions. Dimensions are the broader conceptual levels, 24 sub-dimensions that can be more operationalized variables. And this led to the first development at the theoretical level of the OR4KT. On the other hand, we developed the same, more or less a similar approach for the measurement aspect of this project. So with a systematic review of existing instruments that we use to assess organizational readiness in a care context, we identified 26 instruments and found that 18 of them proposed measures that were valid and or valuable. So we applied the standards for psychological testing in order to identify which measures could be used, because that was not to invent a brand new instrument, but to use what was already available, what was already tested, and see if it could match our specific needs. So among those, there was only one that was found valid on the 4 criteria that we're looking at is the Texas Christian University Organizational Readiness for Change. So this provides valid and reliable measures. For the reliability, none of the instruments had the 3 items for reliability complete on, but this TCU ORC, one of the versions D, is the one that was found reliable. But all these information about the systematic review have been published. You have reference again, if you're interested, you have all the details about that. So this helps to the development of our tool. So these concepts that were identified from the control mapping are these are broad core themes related to organizational readiness for change and involve organizational dynamics, change process, innovation readiness, institutional readiness, and personal readiness. But these are used to measure, or there was a perfect match between the core concepts from theories and models and their operationalization in measurement and instruments. So we mapped its 6 dimensions, the dimensions that were coming from the measurement part, and we have identified finally 6 dimensions important to assess OR4KT that are organizational climate for change, organizational contextual factors, change content, leadership, organizational support, and motivation. And with dimensions, we can find sub-dimensions. I'm not going to read to that. You have the presentation if you want more details, and it has also been detailed in the publication. So you can see that there are sub-dimensions associated with each of the 6 dimensions, and we have also items related to that. So dimensions, 20 sub-dimensions, and many items. The special instrument that we propose was also submitted to the Delphi. Where we did is we used what's available in the literature. So we review all those instruments and scales that are used to assess sub-dimensions, and we put all those items on a survey. So 97 items that were sent for validation to the Delphi. So it was a very long a questionnaire for the experts who were invited to participate. So the second phase, once we had identified those items, was the validation process of organizational readiness measure. Level 5, I think, we finished. We contacted, as I mentioned previously, about 75 international experts, but only 14 responded to the first round and 10 to the second round. We decided on agreement for the items where more than 70% or more of the experts agreed about the item. However, a lot of items with high agreement, but we need to keep this as the process, as we follow the process of instrument development, and we decided to keep it and call it the long version, the OR4KT version, because my opinion is very long with 91 items. I'm just totally satisfied because many items received high agreement. In fact, also that our pool of experts was limited, with only 10 experts participating in the two phases. So it was quite easy to reach consensus, but there was consensus for many on many items. Then proceed to a content validation, and we asked experts, 7 experts that time, the relevance of the items that were selected through the Delphi process. And, these experts provided comments about the relevance of the proposed items to the specific field knowledge translation in the healthcare context. So this other content validity also help us to identify some items for which the relevance was not as high. And finally, we proceed to item reduction exercise because the goal of the OR4KT tool is really to be usable in the healthcare context by managers. So a very long question. We were that the survey would be found too difficult to apply in a real life context. So during my sabbatical here in Spain, I contacted with researchers there, and were very interested because they were implementing an evidence strategy for health promotion in primary care. And they wanted to scale it up at the province, at the system, because it's a provincial health system also there. So they saw in the OR4KT tool a very good first step as to identify which organizations could be more receptive, more ready to embrace the proposed intervention. But they were also a bit about the length of the tool. So we the item reduction. So talking with experts, but experts of the content there of the field, including physicians, psychologists, nurse, manager, and researcher. And we decided to ask them which were the most important items. And from there, we removed the items with less than 80% agreement. We developed the short version of the OR4KT that has 59 items and is practical to use in real life context. Started with the English version and then doing a Spanish validation process. We decided to do the transcultural validation process of our tool, first beginning with the Spanish version and then the French version as well. And to do so, we use the guidance on transcultural validation of the measurement instruments. We use first bilingual collaborators in our team. The first version of the tool in both French and Spanish, but we hired professional translators to do the back translation. Then we compared both. The original version is in English, and we compared the English version and the Spanish one, Spanish-English one, and then the French and English version. And we found that the two versions were equivalent. Third phase of the project that is still ongoing now is the field testing. So the whole purpose of this project was to develop a tool that can be used readily to inform decision makers and researchers on the context for implementing change. So we needed to find implementation projects with a sufficient number of potentially interested organizations to implement change. So the idea is to find the right type of project where this instrument could lie as a first field testing. As mentioned before, the country implementation project was perfect for that. So that was our first field study. We used a short version of the OR4KT instrument, and we first contacted 49 primary care organizations from the whole national provincial health service system in the Basque Country. So here's an example. The first questions of the OR4KT in Spanish. So you have 5-point Likert scale, and the respondents have to indicate their level of agreement with all the proposition there. So for each dimension here, you have organizational climate for change. You have between I think most of them have 10 items, 10 items, and one has 9 items. And the scoring is by addition. You do the sum of all the scales. Preliminary results, because the study started during the fall, and up to 20 primary healthcare centers have participated, and there's a possibility of 5 additional. These are data as of January 23rd, I think. So further centers were supposed to take part. Within the center, we tried to get a questionnaire by two representatives of the groups, physicians, nurses, and managers. So between 2 and 3 people presenting those groups. The idea is to have a measure that reflects the general context in this organization. So if we just ask the manager's opinion, then it could be different than the physician's one and the nurse one. So we have at least 2 persons from each category. Managers is very broad. It can include the administrative personnel, the CEO of the chief of the organization. But it's just to make it short. But usually we contact 7 persons per organization. People within the organization up to between 4 and 7. So we can use those organizational level answers. And from the results, we're going to do convergent and discriminant validity. Because at the same time, the instrument measures another similar concept to to assess general climate in the organization. So we're going to calculate the conversion validity and discriminant validity comparing with a different variable. So here is just a little overview of the centers that have agreed to participate and the number of respondents. So I put names because I'm sure that not many people will visit those centers. It's very far. And an example of what it looks like when we put all the scores together. So this example is the OR4KT score of the 7 primary healthcare centers in one of the regions. So really do a graph. It's a sum. So the total sum can put on a scale from 0 to 100. And here you can see that most of the centers are between 40 and 70 out of 100 on the different dimensions. And you have the different dimensions, the 6 dimensions of the questionnaires that are there too. It's interesting to see that there are trends, but also some differences between centers within a single region. And how you use that to support your decision is to try to set the organization that has the highest level of readiness. In that case, we would probably select the center number 6 because it has the highest level of readiness, and eventually could be the one where, if you implement change, the success are higher. So let's go back to Quebec. We are in the process of validating the French version of the OR4KT in the case of implementation in a practice. Family medicine in Quebec, and the project that is targeted is a patient portal to access their medical records for chronic care follow-up. So we are now just starting with the phase validation with the doctors and nurses and managers in this center. We aim to, once it is validated, to contact about 50 healthcare organizations in primary care in Quebec to assess readiness of those organizations for implementing a patient portal to access their medical health record. Health record, sorry. There are also contacts with Ontario to use the OR4KT version within the project Maternal Newborn Dashboard in Ontario, led by Sandy Dunn. So we are in the process of how this can be used also to validate the tool within a different context. So the idea is really to have a tool that can be used in primary care or in hospitals. In this case, it's more in the hospitals and other levels of health care. So here are the references to our work that is already been published. And thank you much. I will try to answer the questions by chat, or I read it and then I answer?
No,
by phone, okay.
By phone.
Okay, thank you.
So much, Marie-Pierre, for that excellent presentation, and it's very exciting for those of us who have an interest in organizational influences on KT to have a new tool, a new exciting tool that we can maybe use in our projects. So we're up for some questions now, and maybe we'll start out west. And I'm new to this, so I'm going to try to go west to east kind of order. Maybe the people out in Calgary can start. Does there anybody have any questions in Calgary?
Thanks for the talk.
Oh, in Edmonton.
You guys can go ahead, and Edmonton, you're unmuted if you want to. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks much for the talk. It's a really interesting tool. I have a couple questions. One around the results. Why did you choose a 5-point Likert scale versus 3 or 10? And after that, the scores were 100%. How did you arrive at those?
Okay, thank you. Good question. The choice of a 5-point Likert scale is in specific context, as we use the questionnaire within an existing study, and the other scales that were using the questionnaire were 5, but specific guides, let's say, for this tool, as the scales on which it is based, they vary. Some of them use 3 points or 7 points, or we selected the 5 points because of the convenience to use it in the same questionnaire. The second question regarding the total score, we just do pondération. Is it the? Oh wait, thank you. We weighted the score to make on a 100.
Out of 20, and
we have 59 items.
okay.
We weighted it to make a score on 100. It doesn't make it's not a round number. I'm sorry. We use
I just wasn't quite how you were going there. The other question that I have is, were the long and short tools tested and compared to one another to see if you got the same results out of both the long one and the short one?
That's what we do. The problem is to find enough organizations that are able to fill both questionnaires. Perhaps we do that in one of the versions. In Spain, it was not possible now because they didn't want to fill a long form. And healthcare organizations are the best place to validate instruments. So we try to find solutions. Perhaps if you have suggestions, I'd be very happy for that. If anyone is interested, both versions are available in French and English. So it's really I think people want to do this part of the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there in Winnipeg?
I want to say thanks very much for the talk.
Okay, let me go to Hamilton. This is Hamilton. St. Peter. Master. Nobody from McMaster. How about anybody at St. Mike's in Toronto?
No, what's that? Thank you.
Okay, how?
We have a couple of questions here.
Hi, my name is Justine. I'm Marie-Pierre. Hello, thank you for the presentation. I actually had about 3 questions, but I think one of them might have been answered, and that was that I was wondering whether the different dimensions had been weighed in different ways, because I presume that depending on the organization you talk about, some things might matter more than other things in determining readiness for change. My second question was, I wasn't clear whether there was a specific threshold under which you would not recommend an organization go ahead and implement technologies. And the third question was, are you going to be issuing any guidance for people as to how to administer the tool and who would be filling it out, basically? I'm not clear because there are some questions there about staff cohesion, for example, which I don't think necessarily the top leaders of a hospital might be the best people to answer, for example.
Thank you very much for the difficult questions, Justine. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, all the dimensions now, they have the same weight. Okay. This version of the tool, perhaps later we can try to develop specific versions or for users in certain contexts. But now it's really the 6 dimensions, they have the same weight.
Okay.
The other question about the threshold is very interesting. We don't have such a threshold right now. I know that other existing tools, they have proposed, for instance, the Texas Christian University OR4KT tool proposed some threshold, but it's something we don't for which we haven't yet made any proposal regarding a threshold.
Okay.
I would say as it's really context dependent. We have a set of organizations. Then just using the rank and the variation, you have a median, for instance, and then you look at a certain rank. The median could be a rule of thumb, but I would suggest look at the median and what is above the median, best chances of success. But not about that is official now. I think we're still in the process. We are just starting to field test the tools. We will learn also about using it. Then, of course, it's important that this tool also has a predictive validity. But for that, we need to have implementation data. Then, to make sure that if we assess the level of readiness, then within 2 years, will the intervention or the technology be implemented in practices? Then it's another type of validity for which we need time to assess the predictive validity. And your third question.
Who fills out the tool?
Thank you, Matthew. We thought that having clinical and managerial staff and combining their response would provide this overall organizational release, because some instruments they are specifically targeted at individual practitioners, and it's good, but it assess only one group's perceptions, and other tools will be by the high-level managers. But as you mentioned, they don't have the clinical experience and feeling of the context, day-to-day practice. So the idea we took it from the TCU ORC instrument, where they have a version for the providers and a version for the managers. We try to have questions that could be both answered by the two groups.
Okay, very much.
You're welcome. Bye.
So those are questions from Ottawa. Any questions from Dalhousie? So I'm going to silence as no questions. Are there any other sites online right now? That question?
I actually have another question that came in via chat. That's in Toronto.
Yep. Okay, can you answer that question, and we'll ask a couple questions here at Laval and finish up?
Yeah.
Go ahead with the chat question.
Okay, so the question was, have you had the opportunity to give feedback of the results to each organization? And if so, how did they interpret the results?
Good, thank you. No, unfortunately, we are still in the process of collecting the results. But yes, we will. The idea is to give back their score when selecting which organizations will take part in the. It's to inform the selection of organizations for trial. They have got this intervention. Integrating health promotion in primary healthcare practice with an electronic tool, and they want to do an implementation trial. So the organization with the highest level will be considered to take part in the trial, and they will receive their score.
Okay, any questions? Are there any questions now from the room here at Laval University?
It's okay. The psychiatric. So because you will get, if I come back for scale.
Yeah,
so you do have psychometrics on this?
We right now have 20 organizations and 126 individual questionnaires. So we're doing that now. We're doing the scale consistency, confirmatory factor analysis. So everything we can do, it's right now being done with the Spanish sample.
So is it about statistician, David, is taking care of the data set, or?
No.
No? Statistician, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've always been wondering about when we look at organizational aspects, if you're tapping at the level of the organization, but you're asking at the level of a professional what they think. So you basically
of course.
Okay.
That's what we aim to receive more organizations, because
that's why you want.
Yes, we want. Yeah. But that's one of the challenges of this kind of study on the organizational level. It has always been very difficult to have a sufficient number of organizations. So with this, if we achieve 25, it's still a borderline to do any multi-level. But hopefully in Quebec or in Ontario or in other settings, we can reach a sufficient sample.
So maybe something that our colleague in the rest of Canada haven't paid attention too much. We're going to, since last Friday with the new law number 10, we're going to strain down to very little organization for the province. For example, right now there's about 93 primary healthcare organizations, but then we're going to go down to what, 20, 10, 15? So as of kind of shrinking down the number of organizations in our province, is this something that you're thinking in a creative way? So base organization is differently because there's going to be almost no organization left.
Yes. In the Spanish case, they have the same situation because they merge a lot of organizations. So what we did is we took there are 3 regions. So there are 3 organizations because they're all merged. Okay. But within each, there are sites. Okay, where there's a physician responsible. Yeah. There's one. So our units, we take the small unit. Okay, so for example, here in Quebec, we have the clinics and the sites. So I hope we can still do some work. Thank you.
So I have just a last question for Marie-Pierre, and then we'll thank her for her talk. So you already answered my question. So you've already have planned to do some factor analysis and other things to sort of see how items group within certain concepts. So now I'm thinking about how someone can use your tool, and now paint a portrait that whether an organization is ready or not to go forward with a KT or go forward with a practice change. So can it help you now design interventions to help organizations get more ready for practice change? Can you use your tool to help you identify, different areas that organizations work on to become ready to implement practice change?
Of course, yeah, you can use as a didactic tool to see where organizations can improve in order to be more ready to changes, of course. But then once done, the tool doesn't give you the answer. If you need to improve leadership, then you need to go back to leadership literature and find which interventions are effective to improve leadership. Yeah, but it can be for that purpose.
Okay, great. So I think there are no more questions here at Laval. So I'm going to thank Marie-Pierre for just an excellent and a very exciting project that she's got going on right now. And I'll leave the final word to Megan or anybody else at St. Mike's, whatever is coming next for KT Canada.
Well, we've got our rounds next month on March 12th when we've got Janet Curran speaking. So that will be very interesting, I'm sure. And I want to thank everyone. Thank you so much, Matt. You were an excellent moderator. And thank you, Marie-Pierre, for your great presentation. And thank you for all our listeners.
Megan, can I just add, it's Sharon in Toronto, can I just add a reminder for people to submit your abstracts for the KT Canada scientific meeting that they're due next week?
Yes, excellent idea.
Thank you. And thank Marie-Pierre.
Thank you.